All right, here we are. It's another episode of everyone's favorite From the Margins with James Apont and yours truly. How are you, Jimmy?
Oh, I'm fine. It's the end of the week. It's the second 100 days of Donald Trump.
Yes, it is. Here we
Uh,
are.
and as we speak, a few hours ago, he fired his director of national security, for ex-Florida Congressman Walz,
Michael Waltz. Yes.
who quit his job to take another job and now has no job.
So he quit. Well, there's an update. Yeah, so he resigned his seat, his congressional seat, CD6, which was won recently by Randy Fine, State Senator Randy Fine, to become the national security advisor to Trump. And now he has been nominated to be the ambassador to the UN instead of Representative Elise Stefanik. Stefanik? Is that how you pronounce her name? Stefanik?
You might be right. Oh, so he got fired and hired. I like that.
Exactly. He and his deputy NSA counterpart, Mr. Wong, I guess, are going over to the UN. So, and
From
but
security to diplomat. That's a, yeah.
so I mean, whatever happened with Signalgate, this whole mess with you know letting the Atlantic reporter in on the bombing of the Houthis in Yemen. Um, I guess didn't really affect his career. I mean, being a diplomat for the UN, it's not nothing to sneeze at.
No, it isn't, and you could the ex uh, governor of South Carolina, Haley, she enjoyed it, but then
Hmm.
again, for with all due respect, you're too young to remember this, but Shirley Temple was also a U.S.
Yes,
ambassador to the UN, and she had no qualifications whatsoever. Okay,
that's true. That's true.
so with that said, it's going to be an interesting week, but yes, it is kind of funny to see that right now some of the consequences of the tariffs and President Trump's actions are starting to really pay back in a bad way. China has just signed a contract with Brazil for 4 years, excuse me, to buy soybean from them. They used to buy soybean from the United States.
Yes.
That's apparently off because basically, with all these tariffs and all these attitudes towards changes, uh, we'll go to another market. That is going to hurt farmers in this country because we're going to have a problem. Yeah, when people tell me, well, it's time that we get tough with China, we stop them. Well, yeah, and when our farmers cannot sell their soybean to anybody, and we're going to have no market for our foods, we're going to have no market for our bourbons, we're going to have no market for anything that we produce because we pissed off the world and they don't want to buy our products.
Yeah.
Yes, industry is really going to come back real fast here. For what? I have no idea. But yes, it is something that has changed immensely. And China's in negotiations. And this might sound like a joke, and it's not meant to be a joke, okay? But they're in negotiations with Central America, especially with Mexico, to buy pork.
Oh wow.
They're not, again, they're not going to be buying from the U.S. So we're going to have all these pigs. So very, very soon, pork will be very cheap in the United States. That is consequences. My grandfather used to tell me every action has a reaction and every
Correct.
act has a consequence. Right now, we have Donald Trump, and that's the consequences that the people of the United States elected him. That's fine. We live with that. But
Right.
his actions are having reactions in all around the world, and not necessarily for the best. Right now, Canadians are pissed off with us. Uh, the conservatives looked like they were going to win, and because of a conservative like Trump saying things like that, they should become the first 51 state, that they should be grateful for everything that we do for them, and blah 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 blah. Basically, the the liberal guy who, if you ever sit down, take 5 minutes to listen to him on YouTube, is kind of boring. to say, not to say he's completely boring, but he won, and he won
Right.
by a large margin this past Monday. So it's not like, oh, that was 6 months ago. We're talking this last Monday, 3 days ago. So there are consequences to our actions. And basically, we're starting to see them. A, a lot of countries are just saying, hey, we can't depend on the U.S., we'll go some other way. Now, for those of you who tell me in your comments, well, it was about time this, or, yeah, I don't have a
Sure.
problem with you with that. But when your farmers cannot sell their pork, when your farmers cannot sell their soybean, when your farmers are going to have problems selling excess wheat and corn because nobody's buying it from us, let me ask you a question. That how is that going to affect the United States economy? Look, with all due respect to everybody, oh, we need to change. Change what? Is our economy bad? No. Was it broken? No. Did it need a fixing? Yes, but the fixing that he's doing is the reverse of what it needs. He's making the billionaires richer and you, middle class, poorer. That's not the economy that you want. He, and right now, we're going to see it come down the pipe sooner than later.
Right. We recently had the GDP report, and it showed that there was negative growth, if that could ever be a term. But the economy, however, very slightly, was re- retracting. And I believe the president said that, well, and his handlers, his people have said, well, he wasn't sworn in until January 20th. So these are just remnants of the Biden economy. However, we know that in the last 100 days, what the president has done as far as the economy, he has followed what he's always said he would do, implement the tariffs, and has reordered the chessboard in regards to trade and economies. In regards to factories and manufacturing coming back to America, that's a that's a long range goal. However, when those jobs do come back, I believe it's going to be all automation, robots.
It very well might be. But let's answer this to those conies when say, well, it's Biden's. It isn't. It's yours. But by the way, during the campaign, Biden and Kamala did not offer to fix the economy in one day. They did not offer or promise that they would fix the Ukraine Russia war in one day. He did. As a
That's
matter of fact, his exact words were, it will be fixed before I'm sworn in. Well, you know what? It's 103 days since you've been sworn in, and it's still not fixed. Ukraine is still a mess. Russia is still a mess. But
mhm.
the economic uncertainty that you created on the markets, that was not Biden. That was you. And the problem that I have is, let's say that you could try to sell that bag of bullshit. Okay, then Donald, fix it. You're the great economist. You're the great out of a deal. You're the great bullshitter. Fix the economy. Oh, you can't. Look,
Mhm.
you can't blame Biden for the price of eggs in May 1st of 2025. Sorry, you just can't. It's past your time, and you can't. You need to come up with something new. But we know that the president has never accepted responsibility for what he's done, but he'll take credit for what he hasn't done.
That's true.
So that's another story. But realistically, I would ask you, his 100 days were on Tuesday, today's Thursday. What grade would you give him as to
Ooh, okay. I knew this was coming. And so, in 100 days, the totality of the Trump administration, I would give him a solid C. I give him higher marks for addressing illegal immigration. He is standing by his word, and we see um, border security much better than we have in the past. So, for those who made immigration, illegal immigration, their priority, I believe he's been successful in regards to reaching the million people that need to be um, deported, according to the president. I think that mark is that's unrealistic. So I think his highest marks would be with immigration. His lowest marks, I think, would come from uh, so far his economic plan. I was thinking that it is a bold move what he was doing. The tariffs, particularly taking on China and unfair um, economic practices, trade practices. Uh, that China employs. I'm glad that he did take on China. However, there were so many other things that needed to fall into place for his plan to work. I'm not confident anymore that the tariffs are the sole solution.
okay, I give him a D. He has closed the borders. He has. No,
Sure.
and that's why I'm giving him a D. His deportation is a bag of bullshit. Look, right now, numbers wise, he's
Not good.
below
Yep.
Obama. And believe this, and this is the strange one, and he's almost par. Wait, no, almost par with Biden. But he was going to take care of all of this. That's why the part of the immigration deportations are not really happening. The
Hmm.
numbers are not there. That's why Stephen Miller and Steve Banner and all these people
And
who talk won't give you numbers because there are no numbers to give you.
mhm.
Now, has he created fear? Yes.
Yes.
Has that affected the markets? Yes.
Sure.
Has that helped the economy? No. This is my problem. Yes, people voted for him for immigration, but they thought this is a billionaire who's a smart man who's going to make the economy better. Well, there he gets an F. The economy is not better, and in no
Yes.
sense of the word, the dollar is weaker. Now, this is something that we need to understand. The dollar is weaker. Okay, if not, go on eBay and go on Temu, go on Amazon, and products that were $2 maybe in December of last year, now they're 350. It's not simply because the dollar is weaker. If not, I'll make it easy for you. Take Google every day and compare the US dollar to the European euro. Take the US dollar, compare it to the Great Britain pound. And if you want to do it, you can do it with Japan and you can even do it with China. It takes you less than a minute. And you'll see every day that the US dollar is down. Are you going to blame Biden for that one? No, it's on you. Now, as to taking on China, it was stupid. Did he really think that China was going, yeah, what do you want? No.
Mhm.
China is a very strong economic country to which we owe billions of dollars. Okay, let's not prove that.
Yes, we
We
do,
owe them
Jim.
billions of dollars. And if they call our note, we're fucked.
Yes.
Okay, so with that in mind, what do we, what was he trying to do? Was he trying to level the market? Look, the problem with China is not China. Okay, Let me tell you the truth about China. Who took the factories to China?
I knew you were going there.
We
American
did.
business.
Parker Pen is there. Uh, Apple, the iPhone that you love, that you cannot live without, is made in China. But who decided to make it in China? Apple's company, a U.S. corporation, decided we're going to go to China because it's cheaper.
Yes,
So
that's
when
true.
we try to blame China for what? Did China force Apple to make their iPhones there? No. Did China force all these companies that are making watches in China to go there? No. Did China force products to go there? No. What they did is they made great offers to them. Look, do you know where? I'll give you another one. Everybody likes Nike. Nike's
Vietnam.
not made in the United States.
No, they're not.
They're
They're
made
not.
in Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Why are they in Vietnam? Because labor's cheaper, and
Yes.
because Vietnam made them an offer they could not refuse. They gave them a building, they gave them shipping, they gave them tax
Yes.
exemptions, and they gave them a bunch of stuff. And they took
Cheap
everything and
labor.
went to Vietnam. It's they're not stealing our businesses. Our businesses are just saying, "I'm going there not because taxes are cheaper." That's a lie. They're going there because the cost of labor is cheaper. So when you say, "Hey, let's bring Nike back here," you're paying $100 some for a pair of Nike tennis shoes. You make those same Nike tennis shoes here,
It's gonna cost you.
it's $300 to $400. Same tennis shoes. Oh, so what? When we try to complain that China's stealing our people, no, 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 no. Blame Bezos, blame Musk, blame the corporations that are. Look, right now, Ford, Chevrolet are having their parts made in South Korea.
Hmm.
Why? Because it's cheaper for them to have them done. But they made that decision. South Korea didn't. China didn't. So stop blaming the Chinese for what our industrial people are doing. Now, when people say, well, it's because we have too much regulation, you're right. Compared to China, anybody has regulation.
Right.
They have none. So, and basically, you in China, you need to do something, and you give a person a $50, and they look the other way. Here, you cannot do that. I understand that, but that's not the reason. It's cheaper to produce it in China. Right now, all manufacturers in the world, number one is South Korea, China, and Japan.
Hmm.
The other problem that we have is the problems that we don't want to discuss. Our birth rates in the United States are down.
Yes.
China are up. Our our mortality is average is going down. China is remaining the same. So we are competing with somebody that we trained them. But now let's get this
Yes, we
clear.
did. Yes.
We
Yes, we did.
trained them how to do the products, how to put them together, how to manufacture them, and then we're complaining that they stole away our businesses. They didn't. Stop blaming the wrong people. U.S. corporations decide we're going to go over there. As a matter of fact, there was a movie about Jason Bourne
Hmm.
that supposedly they go to a drug factory in the Philippines.
Okay.
That factory exists. And if you notice, there were a lot of Philippine women working for one third of what a American woman or man would work here in this country. And the guy in charge of security was a U.S. citizen who got killed. And by the way, he was in charge of security, and he had a $10,000 Rolex. Just for the record, uh, you just wonder how corrupt the guy was. Uh,
Hmm.
but we go back to let's blame some other people. That factory in Philippines exists, and they produce three-quarters of our medication. So when people tell me the lie, this is the biggest lie. Don't go to Mexico. Don't go to Costa Rica. Don't go to other countries to buy medication because you don't know what standard they use. With all due respect, they buy from the same factory in the Philippines that we do. We don't produce the drugs here. Surprise!
That's
They
right.
don't produce them here. They would come from there and they sell them in Mexico. The problem is that when they come here, the pharmacies overcharge and make a high profit, and and there's where we come from. Unless they're what I call generic. Generic, there you're taking a risk. It could come from Philippines. It could come from parts of Africa and that I said. But basically, 90% of the pills are produced in Puerto Rico, Philippines,
Right.
and some in China. Okay,
Yes.
but
J-
but when they say, well, we don't go to Canada because we don't know what security. They're the same.
right. Jimmy, we're in a very delicate place economically. Trump is talking about trying to save jobs, trying to save our economic system with these tariffs, with these very stern trade talks and partnerships, particularly trying to save the semiconductor and GPU um, economies. If we revert to how things were before January 20th, will we still, I mean, will we still see American manufacturing continue to diminish and become less competitive with China, Vietnam, Mexico, Malaysia, so forth and so on? Is we're in the tough spot.
No, we're not.
We're not.
That borders flow a long time ago. The
Mm,
thing that, look, Biden tried and he brought some of the semiconductors back to the United States. The semiconductors industry is controlled by Korea and Taiwan. And one of
hmm.
the reasons why China wants to invade Taiwan is to get that. So let's stop.
TSMC, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Again, who took it there? Look, the history of computers is an interesting thing. When Apple was created originally, there was three people. One was Gates. The other one was the guy who died, Steve Jobs, and the other guy is an unknown that his name escapes me. And they put together the first personal computer. Computers are a piece of plastic that needs software to run. So somehow Steve Jobs didn't think that was important, and Bill Gates, who the person who was the first what I would call software engineer of the world, took off and created Microsoft. The second one, Steve Jobs said, "Oh, I'm going to continue manufacturing these computers." And the third guy, whose name escapes me, went and created Intel. The
Ah, yeah,
chips.
right.
Intel, if you don't know, used to be the biggest
Yes, they
thing
did.
computers, and that's what you would look for. Then others came out. Intel was originally produced here in California, in
Right.
Silicon Valley, but somehow the people said, "Well, God, I could go to China and produce it cheaper." See, software is something that you do over a computer, and it's not something that you mass produce. Yeah, once you have the software, believe it or not, you just have some computers and you put them in packages. And we all remember when we used to buy the package with the big box of
Yeah.
Microsoft 10 after the fiasco of Vista, which was a
Yeah.
fiasco. Okay, so when people say, "Are we going to be able to bring these things back?" No,
Right.
no. And let me give you an example of what I'm trying to say. And it's not what we think. The first VHS, which most of you young audience does not know what a VHS is. But
Mhm.
we used to put a little thing that cost $1,000.
Ah, yeah.
Then they went to China and they produced them in China, and you could get a VHS for 150.
Yeah. I remember.
That was one. The old laptops when they started to come out, were $1,000. And it didn't have much push. And then with the IBM, uh, what's the word, like square boxes, okay,
Yes.
they went to China, they got the chips reduced, and all that, and now they cost less than 200. I got the only there's only two companies in the U.S. that assembles, and I'm going to call the word correctly, because no, I'm going to call them out when they, especially Dell, assembles computers here. There's a company called Nano. Nano has been able to put together a laptop with 2 terabytes. Okay, just going to go
Okay.
with a finger ID, ah, for 329.
Okay.
That's not bad.
Not bad at
All
all.
the
Lots of
parts that
storage.
they have in there are not made in the United States. Sorry, they're not.
Right.
They're made in China and in Korea. Why? Because we do not make all the required parts. We don't produce it here. Why? Because again, it is cheaper to buy it from them. Look, well, there was a time in the '90s that Walmart was pushing buy American, buy American, buy American. Then they realized that the factories they wanted to go to buy could not produce the numbers of products, and much less at the price that they wanted. So basically, they ended up 90% of the clothes that you buy in Walmart are from China. As a matter of fact, WeatherTech came out with a commercial saying, "Hey, we're here. Our factory is here. We do it here." Yeah, you do. You're right. But the rubber, you don't. It's not produced in the United States. You buy it from a foreign country, and that's the rubber you use. So basically, the product is made here, but with a thing that comes from, and that is the world economy today. The thing that you think that you're going to go back to be able to open factories, and you're going to get all your material here, and you're going to do that. It's absurd. I'll give you one last thing.
Okay.
At the beginning, chewing gum and rubber doesn't it's not from here. It is from South America and from Asia. So you bring the rubber in here and you make the tires. But right now, the best tires that people want are not made in the U.S. There's the Toyos that come from Japan,
Mhm.
the Pirellis that don't come from, and Michelin is in Canada. Great
Mm.
product, but it's a Canadian tire. So this thing is, uh, I want to buy American. It's the most hypocritical thing that I've seen. I don't. Of my friends, I'm the only one who has a Chevrolet.
Mm.
And you have a Toyota.
I do. I have a Toyota.
I mean, so you're not buying American at all. So we want to bring back the industry, but we're the biggest people responsible for the industry not coming back. I think we're very well economically. We're the richest country in the world. We have the best economy in the world. Our economy is solid. We do not need to bring back the factories to make it better. It is more of a dream. I want to go back to an era when dad went to work and mom stayed at home, when
Yes.
uh, there were white neighborhoods and black neighborhoods, when there were white schools and black schools. Because going back, again, you're going back. You're not going to the future. Now, listen to them. It's not let's go forward and make this country great again. It's let's make America great again. It's going back to the
Hmm.
old days. So I have my concerns when people tell me, can we bring back manufacture? For what? Can we do it? Sure. What are we going to do with that? And let me put it this way: if you could bring back a pen factory and you put it in there, and basically you produce pens, and you're going to say to me, okay, this pen is going to be now $1.25 wholesale,
Right.
and the same paint is produced in China for 42 cents, guess what you're going to buy? You're going to buy the cheapest one.
Exactly.
And by the way, China, the, the days of saying, well, what China produces is completely unreliable, they're not good products. This is an iPhone. This is made entirely in China. And for those of you who say, well, I don't have an iPhone, I have a Samsung, that's also produced in China.
And manufacturing again, if it does come back to, if we do bring manufacturing back to America, uh, I believe it's going to be automation that's going to be running the show. Now, what America does have, what the United States of America does have an opportunity to do, and it seems like it's a head and shoulders race with China in the competition to keep semiconductors, GPUs, the development and improvement of AI here in the United States of America. I believe I believe that this is the next industrial revolution, and it's all or nothing for the United States. And I like the approach of the Trump administration in trying to keep America competitive in this particular space.
Other than talking bullshit, can you tell me what they've done?
Well,
I'm not, because I know they talk the talk,
sure.
but the question to ask everybody, what have they done? Because I don't look. One of the biggest promoters of IA is Mark Cuban, and Mark Cuban is fighting the Chinese, and we all know that the first big software of IAs came out of China under the Trump administration, and I don't see them doing anything to say, "Hey, we need to get into this market." He's talking about tariffs. Tariffs are not going to deal with IA. Let's stop the
Yeah,
bullshit. It's not. That is a development in a room with engineers and people who know what they're doing. The tariffs are not going to go. The conductors and the others, no, they're not. Why? Because basically, you can put a tariff on them, but we're not producing them here. You can put a tariff on them, but there's no action to produce them here. We can put tariffs on them, but there's no investment company say, "Hey, Mr. President, we're willing to invest $250 million to open a factory to produce them." You see, the thing is, there is a problem. I'm not going to say there isn't, but this is my philosophy. Tell me what's your solution. And what Trump is good at is telling you what's wrong with this country, but not how he's going to solve what's wrong with this country. He's good at telling you that the Chinese are taking advantage of us, and the only thing he can come up, I'm going to put tariffs on their products. Guess who? We pay the tariffs. They don't.
right.
They the product comes in at 10.95, and now there's a tariff of 154%. Now the person who wants to buy it to sell it because it's not, people don't go to the boat to buy it. The people who want to go to buy it, the wholesalers have to add another 10.40, another $12 to it. Now it's $22. Now he's going to sell with a profit at 30. So guess who pays all that money? You, me, and everybody else. So that doesn't stop the Chinese because it's really no skin off their nose. Look, the honest truth is you could talk the talk, but I would like to see the walk. And that's why I gave him a D because I haven't seen anything other than saying, oh, look, we've known we've had a balance with this from the days of Reagan. As a matter of fact, the person most responsible for this was Reagan. It's followed by Bill Clinton, who basically put in NAFTA.
NAFTA.
NAFTA affected our economy. Yes, we know that. So, what, you're going to cancel NAFTA? Not really, because if you do that, all the cheap products we buy from Mexico and from Canada, we're going to have to buy it some other place. It's not like we can say, oh, we're not going to buy this from you. So, where are we going to go? What market? I'm not sure. So it is something. And what the market is telling us is the unpredictable attitude of our president, that they don't know what he's going to do, but they do know that many of the things that he's done have been bad for the economy. So that's why the markets are down. That's why nobody's investing. That's why nobody's is saying, "Hey, he's right. Let me go and spend $300 million and put it in a factory." I have not heard one person who's putting in a factory. Not one.
I've
So
read I've read reports like the GPU processor manufacturer TSMC have agreed to and they're based out of Taiwan, and they were the leading processor for a lot of the AI applications, and they've agreed to open up factories in, I believe, Arizona, if I read the article correctly a couple of weeks ago. I think also other companies like Nvidia has also agreed to do manufacturing here in the United States. And I know, again, there's other companies who have committed to doing more, investing more here in the United States when it comes to technology investment. So
I would like to
I
see
give the
what
president credit there.
I would like to see what they're going to be doing. Look,
True, true.
a lot of cars are being assembled in the United States, and people think that is a great thing because people in Alabama and all that are getting jobs assembling them, and that is true. The truth of the matter is the only reason why they're doing it this way is because by doing it this way, they don't they don't have to worry about terrorists, and they don't have to worry about uh, taxes. The truth of the matter is Hyundai, Kia, when you buy it, that money goes to South Korea. Sorry.
Yeah.
So when you think you have manufacturing things, no, no. The manufacturers, it's still in South Korea. They manufacture all the parts, not part, all the parts. They put them in a boat. They send it to Alabama. And in Alabama, they assemble the car.
Right.
And they're giving you the impression that we are doing something. Alabama right now, believe it or not, is a 60% assembly line that is controlled by, guess what?
Automation. Jimmy, speaking of the auto industry here in America, I don't see, and this is going to be hard to hear for some folks. However, I don't see the American auto industry lasting too much longer. And I say that, well, I think it will transition. I think we'll still have an American auto industry. However, what we're seeing coming out of China and South Korea and Japan, and the types of cars and technology that is spreading across the globe, except for America because of the tariffs, I just don't see how the American automaker is going to compete. Now, they have partnerships with some of these companies overseas. However, I was just watching, I was about an hour in to a 3 hour
I think you froze. Yeah.
about 6 days ago recording the Shanghai International Auto Show. And just these beautiful cars by Wuling and Zeekr and BYD, I'm just like, wow, the technology that's out there is so much better than what's coming out of Detroit and Alabama and Tennessee and California and so forth and so on. How do we compete in the auto industry?
We change our mindset. For some reason, if you want to give, if you want to ask me, how do we save American auto industry? Easy, buy American cars. But most Americans, they want a Kia, they want a, a Toyota, they want a Nissan, they want a Porsche, they want a Mercedes, they want a BMW. Uh, they don't want American cars. And by the way, the cars that I mentioned, most of them are more expensive than American cars. So when you tell me, well, they're cheaper, no, they're not. Uh, as a matter of fact, in Two and a Half Men, uh, uh, Charlie Harper would brag that he owned a Jaguar and then he owned a Mercedes because those were cars with symbol. So if you want to save the American auto industry, do like I do. I drive a Chevrolet. So don't quit. Say if I'm not pro-American, you're not. You're driving a foreign car. You're not helping your economy. You're not helping your auto industry. It's very simple. You want to save the American industry. You want to have those people to maintain their jobs. You want the people to be in the assembly lines. Easy. Stop buying foreign cars. I'm sorry. We want to bring back the industry. President Trump is going to do it. Yeah, you could. It's in your hands. You don't need that idiot. Go and buy an American car.
Sure.
And you got to. Well, the industry is not dying because the other people are putting out a better product, which they are. Okay, that's. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
But when you're willing to pay $100,000 for a Mercedes, but not pay $38,000 for an Equinox that will take you from point A to point B. It just depends the style you want to go there. That's on you. If you are willing to pay $125,000 on a Jaguar, but not $50,000 for a electrical car from Chevrolet, that's on you.
Right.
But the problem is that when people tell me, "Well, there's an unfair competition," bullshit. You're the one who's buying it. Look, I was driving today on my way to work, and I remember as a kid I used to have the bogey thing.
Yes.
I passed more Toyotas than American cars.
Woo.
But guess who were driving these Toyotas? Americans.
Yes.
So when people tell me we need to do something about the industry, yeah, buy American. Simple. Buy American. If you're buying foreign, you, because it's cheaper or because you think it's better, look, it fascinates me that there's one industry that the Chinese dominate and everybody's happy with it. And nobody says a word about it. iPhones.
That's true. That's true, Jimmy. You're
All
right.
cells are all
It's so
cells are made.
frustrating.
All cells are made in China. All iWatches are made in China. Nobody. Timex went under because nobody bought it.
Right.
But everybody wanted Omega and wanted Swiss watches and wanted. As a matter of fact, the most ugly watch in the world, I was given a gift once, so I'll put it down. It's Invicta, but that's not made in the United States either. So
Right.
people, you want America to bring back industry to America, buy American. If you're driving a foreign car, you're a hypocrite. If you are using a cell phone, you're a hypocrite because none of those things are made in America. You want to bring back the factories to make cell phones? Stop buying Chinese. Oh, wait a minute. There's no others. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm right. There is no others. It's not like you have an option. I understand that. But with cars, you do.
Yeah.
You could buy a Buick. You could buy a Chevrolet. You could buy a Ford. You could buy, well, I won't go Tesla because uh, people get angry when I use that
Hey,
word.
they're assembled by Americans,
Yeah, buy
or they're
American.
assembled in America.
You know. But the thing is that when people tell me we want to bring back industry, well, stop buying things that are made outside. Stop
Right.
using the iPhones and the Samsungs and all those others because those are not produced here. Oh, we want it to be produced here. Well, when they tell you it's going to cost you four times the same for the same phone, four times the same cost, you might not be happy, but it is what it is.
Right.
So, are we ready for the fuck ups of the week of both parties?
Let's bring it.
Okay, last week I started with the Democrats, so this week I'm going to start with the Republican.
Okay.
People, we're 100 days into President Trump. His popularity has gone down, but I'm going to make this simple fuck up easy. There were promises that the prices of food would go down, not kept. There were promises that the Ukraine war would be over, not happening. There were promises that they were by now. As a matter of fact, there is, if you go on YouTube, in more than one occasion, President Trump promised that by his 100 days, there will be more than 1 million uh, uh, immigrants deported. We're not even close to that.
Not even close.
So, people, the biggest fuck up of the week is seeing these Republicans going out there, whoa, it's coming. No, it's still Biden's fault. Yes, this or that. Look, the terrorists have made our economy screwed up. So, the biggest fuck up is that there's only two good things that came out of the first 100 days. Ooh, two. Yeah, two. I'm going to give him credit for that.
Okay.
One, that basically he has tried to stand up to the world and say, look, you're not going to push us around. He did it in the wrong way, but his what he was trying to do, I will give him credit. The second was that he fired Mike Wallace and put him into uh, UN there because I never understood why he was, what qualifications he really had for national security. That he was in national security as a congressman, and he was one of the 10 that was sat down and advised of what's going on in the country. Yeah, but there was 9 others that also were qualified that were not considered. Uh, that he kissed Trump's ass, and that's how he got the position. Yeah, I'll give him credit for that. But at this point, that's it.
He
Now,
was a hawk. He is pro military, pro Israel, and he was ready to drop a bomb on Iran.
and and thank God he didn't,
Hmm.
because that would have brought World War III. Now, let's go to my fellow Democrats.
All right.
As a day 103 of the Trump administration, and you have done shit. I like when Bernie said this week that Chuck Schumer talks a good talk but doesn't do
Oh,
shit. Uh,
yes.
I
Very
know
true.
people don't like Bernie, but that one is true.
Yes, it is.
Florida Democratic Party has become a joke. Everybody's abandoned us, but we're thinking that that's unique to Florida. I
Mm-mm.
can tell you that other states are happening. As a matter of fact, your home state of Illinois, which is a controlled iron fist Democratic state, is starting to lose part of its grip, if you're going to be honest. And why? Because we don't have a message. Our message should be very simple. The economy is in shambles. Trump has said that kids are going to have to get used to having less toys in their lives.
That's true.
Okay, which may be true, but it's kind of stupid because what people are having less food on their table, less money in their pocket, less security, and less everything else. So, and the economy, only an idiot would try to argue that it's better. It's worse. We have lost markets with China. We have lost markets with Canada. We have lost markets with Europe. And our products that we were selling that kept our economy going are not being sold and are being purchased otherwise. As a matter of fact, it's kind of a joke, but it's not meant to be a joke.
Hmm.
People in Canada only drink now Canadian whiskey and Canadian bourbon. And even though they might admit publicly that our whiskeys are better and our bourbons are better, then don't want to put up with the bullshit, and they're better off buying their own. You have an industry in this country of bourbon and whiskey
Yes.
that dependent on the Canadian market. Oh, they can sell some other place. No, they can't. Stop lying. So that is the fuck up also of the Democrats. Go out with a message. Stop talking about how bad Trump is. Who cares?
Thank you. I am
Tell me
done with that.
what you're going to do, how you're going to solve it. Because the biggest problem is the politics in the last 20 years is fear, fear, fear. And the other is there's nothing wrong, there's nothing wrong, there's nothing wrong.
Mhm.
Yes, there is. We're a divided country. We're on opposite ends. And basically, at times, we simply cannot communicate as a country. So that is the fuck up of the Democrats. So, with that, hit that little button, subscribe. If you like my little shorts in TikTok or YouTube, hey, you subscribe to those too. If you want to uh, see this progress, do that. If you want to hit a button saying you like us, do that. Hey, you want to hit a button saying you don't like us? Hit that one too. I don't care. You want to say a comment about my shirt? I don't care. You want to say that I'm a crazy Democrat? I'm fine with that. I'm proud of that. You can call me all that. But see, comment. Okay? With that in mind, I will see you all next week. Take care.
Take care,
Take care,
Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Thanks a
Thanks a
lot.
lot. You too.